Welcome to IELTS Self-Peep MasterPrep, your trusted source for real exam-based practice tests. Every test you see here is inspired by current exam trends, and each one comes with full model solutions to help you master every section. Here's our daily schedule. IELTS tests drop every morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and CLP tests every evening at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. No matter which exam you're preparing for, we've got you covered every single day. Are you ready for today's test? Give it your best shot and comment your score. The top 5 scorers will be featured in our monthly Achievers newsletter and awards. Want your name included? Let's begin.
Section 1. You will hear a man calling a music school about adult guitar lessons. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 10.
Good morning, Riverside Music School. How can I help you?
Oh, hello there. Yes, I'm ringing to inquire about guitar lessons, actually. I've seen your advert in the local paper, and I was wondering if you still have places available for adults.
Yes, absolutely. We run several adult programs throughout the year. Are you a complete beginner, or have you had some experience?
Well, I did play a tiny bit when I was at school, years ago, but I'd say I'm essentially starting from scratch. So, a beginner, really?
Right, that's fine. We actually have a course starting next month that would be perfect for you. It's called Guitar Foundations, and it's designed specifically for adults who are either new to the instrument or coming back to it after a long break.
Guitar Foundations, that sounds ideal. And when exactly does it start?
Let me just check. Yes, the next intake begins on the 14th of June.
The 14th of June. Right, lovely. And how long does the course run for?
It's a 10-week program, so you'd be finishing up towards the end of August. Each session is 1 hour, and classes are held on Saturday mornings.
Saturdays work well for me, actually. What time would that be?
The beginner group meets at 10:30. We do have an intermediate group earlier at 9, but that wouldn't be suitable for you just yet.
No, 10:30 is fine. And, where exactly do the lessons take place? I know you've got a few buildings around town.
Yes, we do. The guitar classes are all held at our branch on Whitaker Street. Do you know it?
Whitaker Street. I think I know roughly where that is. Near the library, isn't it?
That's the one, yes. There's a small car park at the rear of the building if you're driving.
Oh, that's handy. Now, what about the cost? What sort of fees are we looking at?
Right, so for the full 10-week course, it's £185. That includes all tuition and materials. You do need to bring your own guitar, though.
£185, that's not too bad, actually. And yes, I've already got a guitar at home. An old acoustic one. Hopefully it's still in decent shape. Now, I suppose I should register, shouldn't I? Could I do that now over the phone?
Of course. I'll just need a few details from you. Could I start with your full name, please?
Yes, it's Brendan, that's Brendan, and the surname is Oakley. Oakley.
Brendan Oakley. Lovely. And could I take a contact telephone number?
Sure. My mobile is 07946 33 8152.
So that's 07946 338152. Perfect. And do you have an email address we could use for sending course updates and reminders?
Yes, it's brendan.oakley, all one word with a dot in the middle, at greenmail.co.uk.
Brilliant. Now, the tutor for your course is a chap called Marcus Webb. He's been with us for about 6 years and is really excellent with adult learners.
Marcus Webb, great. Is there anything I should, prepare before the first lesson? Any books to buy or anything like that?
No books to buy. Marcus provides handouts each week. The only thing we do recommend is that you get your guitar restrung before you start, especially if it's been sitting in a cupboard for a while. There's actually a shop on Park Lane called Hendricks & Sons that offers a discount to our students.
Oh, that's useful. Park Lane, you said?
That's right. Just mention the school and they'll give you 10% off. Oh, and one more thing, for the first session, could you please bring along a valid photo ID? We need it for our records. A driving license or passport will do.
Right, photo ID. No problem. I'll bring my passport, I think. Well, that all sounds wonderful. I'm really looking forward to getting started.
Excellent. We'll send you a confirmation email within the next couple of days with all the details. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, I think that covers everything. You've been very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Brendan. We'll see you on the 14th. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
That is the end of section 1. You now have some time to check your answers to section 1. Section 2. You will hear a botanical garden guide describing garden zones and features. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Kingsbrook Botanical Garden. My name is Helen Ashworth, and I'll be your guide today as we explore the different zones and features of the garden. We're delighted to have you here, and I hope you'll find the visit both relaxing and informative. Now, before we set off, let me give you a brief overview. Kingsbrook was originally established in 1893, not as a public garden, but as a private research facility for the nearby university. It wasn't opened to the general public until 1952, so it has a long academic heritage, which we're very proud of. The garden covers a total area of 37 acres and is divided into 6 distinct zones. We'll visit 4 of them today. Let's start with the zone we're standing in right now, the temperate woodland. This area is home to over 200 species of native British trees and shrubs. It's our largest zone by area, taking up roughly a third of the entire garden. From here, we'll walk east into the Mediterranean terrace. This section was redesigned 3 years ago by the landscape architect Fiona Hartley. Many visitors assume it was designed by a committee, but actually it was entirely her vision. The terrace features drought-resistant plants from southern Europe, North Africa, and parts of Western Asia. It's particularly stunning in late spring, which is exactly the time we're in now. Next, we'll move on to the tropical glasshouse. This is our most popular attraction and it maintains a constant temperature of 28 degrees Celsius all year round. The humidity inside is kept at around 85%, so do be prepared, it can feel quite intense. The collection inside focuses primarily on orchids, with over 450 varieties on display. We actually hold the largest orchid collection in the entire country. After the glasshouse, our final stop will be the water garden, which surrounds the ornamental lake. The lake itself supports a breeding population of dragonflies. We've recorded 14 different species there. The water garden is also where most of our educational workshops for children take place, because the pond dipping activities are so popular with younger visitors. Now, let me tell you about some of the facilities. The visitor center, where we started, has recently been fitted with a new interactive exhibition on plant conservation that opened just last month. The Garden Cafe, located beside the ornamental lake, sources all its ingredients from local organic farms, so do try the lunch menu if you get a chance. The gift shop, which you passed on the way in, stocks an exclusive range of seeds that you won't find anywhere else. They're cultivated right here in our own nursery. And finally, the education suite on the upper floor of the visitor center is currently closed for refurbishment, but it's expected to reopen in September with expanded classroom space. One more thing, photography is welcome throughout the garden, but please note that tripods are not permitted inside the tropical glasshouse, as the walkways are quite narrow and we need to keep them clear for safety reasons. Right, shall we begin?
That is the end of section 2. You now have some time to check your answers to section 2. Section 3. You will hear a student and tutor discussing an essay on ancient Roman architecture. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 30.
Dr. Evans, thanks for meeting us. Sarah and I wanted to go over our essay on ancient Roman architecture before the final submission.
Of course, Tom. I've had a chance to read your draft. Let's start with your thesis. What was the main argument you settled on?
We originally considered focusing on aesthetics, but we ended up arguing that Roman architectural innovation was driven primarily by practical engineering needs rather than purely artistic ambition.
Good. That's a strong angle. Now, your section on building materials, you focused heavily on concrete. Why did you choose that over other materials like marble or travertine?
Well, we felt concrete was the most significant because it enabled entirely new structural forms. Without Roman concrete, structures like the Pantheon dome simply wouldn't have been possible.
I agree. Now, regarding your research methodology, how did you approach gathering your sources?
We started with journal databases, but honestly, the literature review took longer than we'd planned. There was just so much material to sift through, and narrowing it down was time-consuming.
Yes, we spent nearly 3 weeks on that alone, which pushed everything else back.
That's understandable for a topic this broad. What about your analysis of the Colosseum? I noticed you included some interesting points about its seating capacity calculations.
That section was actually better than we expected. Sarah found a recent archaeological study that provided new estimates, and it really strengthened our argument about Roman crowd management techniques.
I was surprised how well it came together, actually. The new data fit perfectly with our engineering-focused thesis.
It shows. Now, I do have concerns about your chapter on aqueduct systems. The technical descriptions are solid, but I think it needs more research. You've only cited 2 primary sources there, and for a topic of that complexity, you'll want at least 4 or 5.
Right. We were worried about that. Should we look at Frontinus's original texts?
Absolutely. Frontinus is essential. Now, let's discuss the comparative analysis between Greek and Roman temple design. How did you find that section?
Honestly, that was the most challenging part of the entire essay. Distinguishing genuine Roman innovations from Greek influences required very careful reading, and we went through multiple revisions.
We rewrote that chapter 3 times. It was difficult to draw clear boundaries without oversimplifying.
The effort paid off, it reads well now. Moving on, your conclusion ties everything back to modern engineering. What inspired that connection?
Tom suggested it. We thought linking Roman techniques to contemporary construction would give the essay broader relevance.
It works nicely. One more thing, your use of visual diagrams throughout the essay actually exceeded the requirements. You included 12 illustrations when only 5 were expected. That added real depth.
We felt the visuals were necessary to explain the vaulting techniques properly.
Quite right. Overall, this is strong work. Focus on strengthening the aqueduct sources, and you should be in excellent shape for submission.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. We'll get those additional references sorted this week.
Yes, really helpful feedback. We appreciate it.
That is the end of section 3. You now have some time to check your answers to section 3. Section 4. You will hear university lecture on how ancient trade routes shaped modern economies. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. Today I want to explore a fascinating area of economic history, how ancient trade routes laid the groundwork for modern economies. We often think of globalization as a relatively recent phenomenon, but the truth is that long-distance commerce has been shaping societies for thousands of years. By examining these early networks of exchange, we can better understand the economic structures we see around us today. Let's begin with perhaps the most famous example, the Silk Road. Now, this network of overland paths connecting China to the Mediterranean wasn't just about silk, of course. It facilitated the movement of spices, metals, and precious stones. But what's often overlooked is the transfer of technology along these corridors. Papermaking, for instance, spread westward through the Silk Road, and this had a revolutionary impact on administration and literacy in Europe. Importantly, the Silk Road also encouraged the development of banking. Merchants needed ways to manage risk over such vast distances, and so early forms of credit emerged. Traders would deposit funds with agents in one city and collect equivalent sums at their destination, which dramatically reduced the danger of carrying currency through bandit-prone territory. Now, let's turn to the maritime spice routes that connected Southeast Asia with the Arabian Peninsula and eventually with Europe. These sea lanes were absolutely critical for the growth of port cities. Places like Malacca and Aden became thriving hubs precisely because of their strategic locations along these routes. The revenues generated from taxation of incoming goods funded enormous infrastructure projects, harbors, warehouses, and defensive fortifications. More significantly, the spice trade created an early form of what we now call specialization. Certain regions began to focus exclusively on cultivating particular crops, cloves in the Moluccas, pepper along the Malabar coast, because the guaranteed demand from foreign merchants made diversification unnecessary. This concentration of production is essentially the same principle that drives modern supply chains. A third area worth examining is the Trans-Saharan Trade Network, which linked sub-Saharan Africa to North Africa and the Mediterranean world. Gold and salt were the primary commodities, but the cultural and institutional effects were equally profound. The wealth generated by this trade supported the rise of powerful empires, most notably Mali in the 13th and 14th centuries. The Emperor Mansa Musa famously undertook a pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324, distributing so much gold along the way that he reportedly caused inflation in Egypt that lasted roughly 12 years. This episode is actually one of the earliest documented examples of how a sudden increase in the money supply can destabilize prices, a principle that remains central to monetary policy today. Finally, I want to highlight the legacy these routes left on modern legal and regulatory frameworks. As merchants from different cultures traded with one another, they needed mutually agreed upon rules. This led to the development of standardized weights and measures, contracts, and dispute resolution mechanisms. Maritime trade, in particular, gave rise to early forms of insurance. Shipowners would pool resources to compensate anyone whose vessel was lost at sea. These cooperative arrangements are direct ancestors of the modern insurance industry. Furthermore, the concept of partnerships, where multiple investors share both the profits and the liability of a commercial venture, was refined along these ancient corridors. Today, this model underpins virtually every corporation on the planet. So, in summary, what we see is that ancient trade routes didn't merely move goods from one place to another. They generated financial instruments, legal norms, and patterns of specialization that remain embedded in our economic systems to this day. Understanding these origins gives us a richer perspective on why modern economies function the way they do.
That is the end of section 4. You now have some time to check your answers to section 4. That is the end of the IELTS listening test. You now have some time to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.
Before you go, don't forget to like this video, share it with other test takers, and subscribe so you never miss your daily IELTS and CELPEP tests. Drop your score in the comments. Your name could be featured in our monthly Achievers newsletter. Stay consistent, stay focused, and keep leveling up with MasterPrep.